What did you think about this week's episode of Andor?
So I just watched it today, obviously, so it's still pretty recent. It was This episode is where I start to understand some of your qualms with it because it's a
Mm-hmm.
continuation of the story as it has been. Um, rest in peace, Marva, Andor's mom. We got it felt very like the same. We got another Mon Mothma scene. We got more Luthen than normal. We got to see his gadgets and they were cool and his morals. But it was still like, okay, let's get like Andor's just gonna escape from the prison and go do his thing. I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as the last episode, of course, because the last episode was huge. But it didn't like next week's the last episode. It didn't feel like this is the end. It felt like, oh, it's just another Andor episode. Um, so yeah, this is the first episode where I wasn't like, oh hell yeah, I love Star Wars. This is cool. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy it. It's just like, oh, I'm starting to see why some people aren't enjoying it.
All right, let me just throw a note out there to Darth Chaos. I'm so sorry that we're spoiling stuff for you,
Oh,
but
I'm
grown folk,
sorry.
that's all right. Grown folks got jobs, so I understand. Trust me, I do. So maybe catch us on the replay then if we're laying too much stuff on you. Okay, but all right. So this is what I have to say about Andor. There is some overall good stuff in this show. They don't do themselves any favors by using the arcs. I wonder if maybe Tony Gilroy thought that because Star Wars fans had been exposed to that narrative method in, the Clone Wars, that he thought, oh, yeah, well, I'll go ahead and use it here. It doesn't work because that middle part of the arc is filler. And this
Mhm.
is kind of what this episode was. There was some good filler in this, but it's still filler. Uh, you know, I definitely did enjoy the Luton parts because, as I've said all along, I feel like he's the most interesting character in the show. And I do feel like this episode kind of confirms for me that it probably is going to be Saw Gerrera that ends up killing him. Because he basically showed his hand. He showed that he was willing to sacrifice another, person that was on their side in order to continue the fight. And we already know that Saw is pretty much all about that. If Luthen hadn't revealed right then what was going on with I can't remember the guy's name right now. The character that gets sacrificed basically.
Mhm.
Because in a previous episode we saw that Luthen was trying to actually convince Saw to go into partnership with this guy to get things going. But now he's letting that guy die. So it's just like, yeah, dude, I can't trust you. Okay. I can't fucking trust you. But I mean, basically Luthen reveals right then and there, yeah, I'm doing what I gotta do to keep this shit going. And Saw is basically doing his version of that. So at some point they're gonna come to, an argument, and I think Saw's just gonna end up killing him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really do feel like that's what's gonna end up happening. As far as Andor goes, they showed some okay character moments. Him and Melshi trying to make their escape, continuing to make their escape, and that alien scene with the I guess Narkinians, I guess is what we're calling them. Um, what did you think about that?
I didn't like the goo and all that stuff. I had to rewatch the end of that scene actually because it was a lot of tension and like, oh, we're gonna kill you, and then suddenly it wasn't, and I didn't really understand that, so I was like, wait, what just happened? But hey, they got out of it. um I
Yeah,
thought
but let me stop you right there.
Mhm.
How did they get out of it? Because this scene right here, it kind of felt like to me like they were answering the criticism about, not enough aliens, but they still
Oh,
didn't do anything with them. Like they caught them, and then there was some confusing dialogue, and then they let them go, and I'm just like, what the fuck was that?
yeah. Okay, so I wasn't the only one. I just thought I was dumb. um, when I rewatched it, what I understood is like, okay, they also don't like the Empire or something. Maybe someone in the chat can clarify. But I didn't think about the whole aliens thing. But you're right. They are like the first. Here we go. That they are actually like designed. They look like kind of cool, I guess. So maybe you're right. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because you can clearly see in their dialogue that at first they're like, okay, well, we're going to get some good money if we,
Yeah.
turn them in. But then for some reason, they just all of a sudden decide, oh, we're going to help you. I'm like, what?
Okay, I'm glad
what
I
the
wasn't
what
the
was
only
the
one.
point? What was the point of that? It was just like, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad to see aliens where we should be seeing them, but that scene absolutely made no fucking sense at all. And yes, Nikki, you are totally right. They do spend too much time on Andor escaping, because we know he shows up in Rogue One.
Mhm.
I think they were trying to build his character there, but that's another thing. The arc thing doesn't work. The character building moments for Andor, there's too much of it. Um, how do you feel about how he dealt with the whole thing with Marva?
That was interesting, especially right after watching Black Panther. I was like, no, deal with your shit. But yeah, he was just like, yeah, no, everything's good. I think that we might see him deal with that more in the future, hopefully, because I don't know, it was not what I expected. I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is like who you are fighting for, who you care about. I expected more, but maybe he's just bottling it all up. I really do hope that we see a little bit more out of what he really thinks.
Do you, because they don't really make it clear in this episode, but I think that they really have set it up. Do you think he's going to go back to Ferrex?
He's a dumbass if he does, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
at
it's
this point, at this
everyone
point,
is.
he doesn't know about anything with Bix. There was nothing. I mean, they did show a scene in here of Bix,
Mhm.
post torture, because I mean, she's fucked up, obviously, but he doesn't at this point have any idea how much trouble she is in. He knows Marva's dead. There is absolutely no reason for him to go back to Ferrex, but they've been setting it up. So I think he is going to go back, and he's just going to confirm he's the fucking dumbass that I have said this character is the whole fucking time.
But oh my god, yeah. I guess he doesn't know that stuff, but like he's a wanted man for multiple things at this point. So, and that's, his home base. Everyone knows about that. So I think that if he thought about it, he wouldn't. But maybe he's just so wrapped up in grief that he's like, oh no, I need to go attend her funeral. Let me go burn my funeral clothes. But I guess we'll see. I really think that's such a dumb move, but I don't know. Hopefully there's something smarter than that.
Yeah, but the thing is too, and that Nikki does make a good point. Why did he even answer the communication from Andor? Because these people have got to know that they're being watched by the Empire at this point.
And he said his
So
name multiple times.
yeah, he's like, "Don't say the name. Don't say the name." I'm
And
just
then he
like, "You
doesn't.
dumbass! You dumbass!" That whole shit was like, what?
So that guy's getting killed. But
Oh my god. And if, like, at this point, yes, Andor is a wanted man. He's escaped an Imperial prison. Why do you want to put yourself at risk again just to go to a fucking funeral when you already basically said your goodbyes to your mom? It doesn't make sense, but they're going to do it because, because plot, I guess. So
It's a
yeah,
hot spot to be, I guess.
yeah. And then of course we get fucking day drinking Mon Mothma. I've got a problem with my bank card. Please, somebody help me. You know, she's talking about her fucking money problems again, and I'm just like, really, bitch. And you
We've
still
been
didn't
through
talk to your
this.
daughter. You haven't talked to your daughter in this episode. Did I miss anything? Did she say
Nope.
a word to her daughter? She just
Nope.
basically sat there day drinking, like, oh, we're not close. She's doing her own thing. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Horrible. She's fucking horrible. Nobody can convince me that this character was not wasted in this show. I don't understand. It makes me so fucking mad. But that part of the show, that's a waste. That's time they could have spent doing stuff with Lethan. You know, I
No,
just
you're right.
I yeah, I there's so much good stuff in the show, but the bad stuff kind of outweighs it for me. And we're going to get to a little bit deeper discussion about some stuff that they're planning on doing with the show, whether or not we think it's a good idea or not. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, if people are out there are really still into this show, I mean, I get it, but you really have to know that the people that are not enjoying it, you've got to admit that there's fair criticism there because they haven't done themselves any favors with the editing and the extra fluff that they what they're adding into these episodes. There's so much shit they could have taken out. They could have given us 6 episodes of Andor, and that probably would have been fucking tight. But this 12, it just feels like way too much.
Yeah, that's fair. You're right about the arcs. It does kind of lull for a little bit, and then it gets really cool for me. And while I am enjoying getting to know these characters, like the shit with Mon Mothma, I'm sorry, every single week I've been like, oh no, it's setting this up. It's setting up something cool. We're almost at the end, and it's been kind of the same scene over and over. She's having
It
money
has
issues.
Yeah, she's at home, like I can't move my money. I can't access my ATM. Please help me. Or she's at the Senate and nobody's fucking listening to her, or she's in Luthen's shop and he's not listening to her. She
Basically,
is
no one cares.
so Yes, nobody fucking cares. She's like the Karen that wants to complain about shit all the fucking time but never does anything. That's what fucking Mon Mothma is in this. Such a fucking waste of a good actress and a character that a lot of people in Star Wars fandom really appreciated before the show. Uh,
Yeah.
so, anything else that you want to discuss as far as Andor is concerned?
I will say, what is up, Mike Stanshall Porter? Let's move on. I'm done.
What's up, Mike? So all right. So yeah, we'll move on from Andor. I hope that people are enjoying it, but I think that there's evidence to the contrary, and we will discuss that a little bit further later.